In Thailand, tension is mounting on the eve of a large pro-democracy rally. Bangkok, water cannons, tear gas, gunshot wounds. Tension is mounting in Thailand between pro-democracy demonstrators, the authorities and the ultramonarchists. On the eve of another rally in Bangkok, here's what we know about the forces at play in possible ways out of crisis in a country accustomed to bloody repressions. No more compromises. We are opening a new era in our struggles. There is no longer any compromise, warned leaders of the protest. After 4 months of rallies, which brought together up to 30,000 people in Bangkok, unprecedented since General Prayut Chan-o-cha's 2014 coup d'etat, the situation is getting tougher. Slogans and insults against the monarchy, untouchable not long ago, are proliferating. Riot police are no longer reluctant to use water cannons and tear gas, and 6 people were shot and wounded last week, firing the origin of which remains unknown. The pro-democracy movement has acquired a solid base on the streets and on social networks. The red shirts, linked to ex-Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, could join him, something they have done little to date, as have those hit by the recession caused by the pandemic. But for Sirapan Nogjuan Sawasti, professor of political science at Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok, if they want to attract more people, the protesters will have to organize themselves around unique leaders and prioritize their demands. Resignation of the Prime Minister, rewriting of the Constitution, reform of the monarchy, of the education system. None have been successful to date, with Parliament simply deciding on the creation of a Constituent Assembly which should not decide on major changes. But the protest has allowed the emergence of a new political culture that pushes the kingdom towards unprecedented freedom of expression, notes Sirapan Nogjuan Sawasti. Site navigation. Emergency measures proclaimed and then quickly withdrawn, arrests and then release of the pro-democracy leaders who remain under investigation. The authorities have blown hot and cold in recent weeks. They navigate by sight, said Paul Chambers of Narazuan University, North. Unlike previous movements, the majority of the protesters are young city dwellers from the middle and affluent classes who dance to the sound of South Korean K-pop. Many are women. Confronting them directly could damage the country's reputation on the international stage. However, the authorities are toughening their tone, brandishing the threat of Article 112 on crimes of lèse-majesté, which punishes up to 15 years in prison for any insult to the king, but which has not been used for a few years. The limits have been crossed, warned Prayut Chan-o-cha, charm offensive. King Maha Vajiralongkorn, whose public interventions were hitherto extremely rare, is leading a charm offensive, multiplying appearances, dialogue with his supporters and messages of love to Thais. But these inflections should not be enough to silence discontent. There is clearly a campaign for it to gain legitimacy, notes Thitinan Pongsudarak, political scientist at Chulalongkorn University. The question is whether it shouldn't have been done much sooner. Ascended to the throne in 2016, Rama X is an unpredictable and controversial figure who has strengthened his powers by taking direct control of the royal fortune and 2 army units. His very frequent stays in Germany have also raised questions, some criticizing him for not having been concerned about his subjects since the start of the pandemic. Violent outcome? This hypothesis seems increasingly plausible, according to observers. Thailand is used to bloody repressions 1973, 1976, 1992, 2010. And, as in the past, ultra-royalist right-wing groups are formed to harass the demonstrators and play the provocateurs, according to Paul Chambers. A coup d'état in a country which has seen 12 since 1932 is also possible. In the short term, one of the ways to reduce the tension would be for the Constitutional Court to rule on December 2 for the departure of Prayut Chan-o-cha, accused of having occupied a military residence, although he was no longer head of the army.